you said?
I'm about to. Once it launches. I should share some news with you afterwards. We'll talk for a second. I actually deleted my ChatGPT account and I erased all my data. And I just moved everything over to Grok.
Yeah, we'll talk after.
By the way. Okay, view on Rumble. Boom. Yeah. All right, let's run it.
Yes, sir.
What is this overlay? I'm trying to find. Ooh, this would be cool. Let's do this instead. There we go. All right, let me get us on Instagram. I always forget to launch Instagram.
New drink today.
Oh, I didn't grab a drink for myself, but I think we'll be all right. So this is now we're actually full screen. I think it looks a little better. So when I trim us out, it'll be a little easier. But yeah, guys, we've made it to episode 24. I mean, obviously some of them have been me. Most of them have been both of us, but that's officially the equivalent, right? If it was week by week on average, it'd be about 6 months of doing this. So it's a big achievement for tonight's episode. I don't know. It could have been longer, could have been shorter, but let's just assume it's 6 months. So thanks for staying with us, guys. If you watched from the beginning or if you just followed along at any point, appreciate you on this journey. And it's only going to get bigger from here. And every time you guys watch, every time you comment even or just share or like whatever platform you're on, it pushes us forward so much more. So please help out. Please share this movement because ALTURA is bigger than just a platform. It's bigger than just a tool. And we appreciate all that. And more importantly, welcome back to the Ascended Podcast, folks. After that 3-day weekend, kind of recharge, I hope all of you guys crushed some goals like Anthony's drinking his shake, got to the gym, or just maybe didn't binge too much Netflix, right? We're firing up this 24th episode. I'm your host, Caleb Schilke.
I am Anthony Parra.
And we're here to guide you through kind of this wild world of tomorrow's money, basically like you're brand new and we're mentors showing you guys the ropes. We still don't know everything. Obviously, we know enough because we're launching our own token at some point to tell you kind of the basics of how this economy works. Even if you think you know something, I think you'll learn something tonight. And anyways, guys, Anthony's here, as always, to back up my ideas and to challenge and provide further feedback and conversation. So hang out for the good times and yeah, let's get into it. If you're new to the crypto and entrepreneurship game, I think this will be helpful because the way I wrote this is kind of giving you guys a basic level understanding, and then we kind of build as we go, so it shouldn't be too confusing. But Anthony, if you feel like there's anything I say as we go that's gonna sound like or like maybe be confusing for somebody who's new, just call it out. We can break it down. But
absolutely.
Tonight we're talking about CBDCs, which are, do you know the acronym?
No.
Central Bank Digital Currencies, or CBDCs for short.
Yeah.
So think of it as your everyday cash, right? Think of it like money in your bank account, right, that you see on your phone, but it's like the crypto version of that, right? But just like a bank account, right, this crypto that you can send, you can use to purchase everyday things, is issued and controlled by central banks like the Fed. So basically, you take no more paper money, right? We're just going app-based, instant, and super convenient, right? That's what it seems like at first. But the reason we're talking about this tonight is because is it a financial freedom fast lane, right, where it allows us to print money or control the money supply very easily and inflation and all of those benefits? Or could it be the opposite, right? Could it be a sneaky trapdoor to total surveillance, which you see in a sort of Black Mirror episode style? So we're going to unpack that tonight. And I want to ask Anthony, as someone who's seen the highs and lows, what do you think what is your first vibe on like swapping out your wallet for a government issued like monetary app? Do you think it's a total game changer or like a hold my beer while I run for the hills kind of thing?
You were talking like, I guess I'm confused with what you're asking. Like a government ran CB.
Basically, and this has already happened, guys. I don't know if you were paying attention to the big beautiful bill, but it gives companies like JP Morgan Stanley, I don't know, like Chase Bank, whatever it is, the ability to issue their own monetary supply, like as if they were the Fed, right? Basically putting money into the economy. You can just make money and issue it. But it's only limited, right? Certain participants can do it, which is very scary because, in my opinion, it gives control to a few select players that you get to decide who. And I believe that's my interpretation of it. That's what I've gotten out of it. Obviously, challenge me in the comments, but that's the way it seemed to be worded in the big, beautiful bill that was passed. But if you have a currency, let's say the US dollar, right? And it's like US dollar coin, but this is like the digital version of it that can be sent. What are the pros and cons compared to just using cash that you see with an economy that's backed by that?
I mean, we've already been benefiting from using something similar than in the past, like 20, I'd say like 15, 10 years, somewhere around there. In this fact that like who uses cash anymore in general? The clear advantage would be just like ease of transfer. We can just store our monetary, our time, our labor hours in something that's just digitally easy to send. You go on Amazon, like think about like all the things you buy from Amazon or like you buy online, subscriptions you pay for. Like ChatGPT subscriptions or Netflix subscriptions wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for credit cards. So it seems like this is just similar, right? It's just not on a credit card, maybe, or maybe it is tied to your credit card. I'm not really sure how it works coming from these banks, the central banks. Are you saying is it literally just U.S. dollars that they're making, or is it their own crypto equivalent that the big beautiful bill allows them to build?
I don't know. So I don't want to get too specific on it in case I'm wrong. And obviously, guys, call me out. But basically, read the book The Lords of Easy Money. It's a very, very good book. It talks about how the Fed works. It takes you through the eyes of a few Fed chairs over time. And obviously, just without getting too boring, Fed chairs can either be hawkish or dovish. Hawkish means they're very like dial back, be hard on the interest rates. Let's not be pumping money into the economy. Dovish is like, right, dove, hopeful, right, forgiving. It's a little bit softer. So you're like, let's just add more money. And obviously, right, that kind of falls typically to the left and right side of things. Dovish can be more like, let's boost the economy, let's stimulate it to create economic growth at all levels and boost the amount of money out there. But a lot of times, right, the trickle down effect, a lot of it goes to the central banks and stays at the higher levels. And so a lot of times doesn't even necessarily make its way down, which can be an issue, but it does add more flexibility in times of need. So it's like pushing the gas on the economy. And then you have hawk perspective, which typically is a little bit more right, conservative, not necessarily right, because it could be different from your actual political views otherwise, but that's just saying, hey, we're going to keep interest rates a little higher. That's been Jerome Powell's take for a while, as we've seen. And it's let's put the brake on the economy. Let's not print money because, again, during COVID, we printed, I think, over 90% of our money supply and almost doubled the value, right? And let's chill out a bit so that way we can like recover from what we've done. So in a perfect world, right, there's no right answer. You kind of need both, but whoever's in the deciding factor kind of issues the policy at that time and can be political. It's getting more and more political. You're seeing that in the news now. But with that aside, I kind of avoided your question. The real answer is the important part about CBDCs is you can control the money supply instantly, right? So you could and I mean, that's kind of how it works now. When they say we're going to raise interest rates by 50 points, right? That just means 0.5%, because it's 0.1% per point. What they're going to do is, or let's just say they're going to lower interest rates like they just did. They're going to add money into the money supply. So there's an actual office, like a cubicles, all that in New York City, where people that work for the government sit and they go on a computer and they type, add, whatever it is, $500 billion into the economy. And they hit enter and the money just shows up in the central bank's accounts. Then the central banks can issue the money, you can give loans on it, all that stuff. The money flows back down to the consumer level, hopefully. Sometimes it doesn't, right? That's where you have the issues with the trickle down. But in a perfect world, it would flood its way down to the common person and keep the economy running with a little bit more leeway. But that gives banks the flexibility to lower their prices. It gets more competitive again, which typically brings the consumer mortgage rates and all that stuff people are looking at right now down. But the digital CBDCs are, you can do that even quicker, and it's based on like a blockchain. But now you don't necessarily need to wait for the Fed to give an announcement. Certain key players can just issue their own currency and add money supply within certain limits on a whim. Um, and if I'm wrong on that, please call me out. But that's how I've interpreted it up to this point. I would love to be proven wrong because I want to make sure I'm getting this right. But yeah, so instant transfers, your money's moving like lightning. You don't have to wait for like ACH deposits from banks. There's no crazy fees eating your profits to move crypto because everything's backed on this crypto economy. It lowers the cost of entry to get into the crypto world, and easier access for folks without banks, right? You don't need to go through a bank. You just have wallets basically, and it can be centralized, it can be decentralized, but you can store your money without having to like build a relationship up, which means it could be theoretically easier for people to get into the business game. But I'm sure you can think of several downsides to that as well. Like the first one that's obvious that most people don't think of is, what about somebody who's 65 that's been a farmer their whole life that barely even has a working truck? Like, how is he going to use digital currency on his? What if he doesn't even have a smartphone? Like, that's going to immediately exclude a lot of people from the economy. So you always have to have cash in some way, at least for a very long time, until it's almost impossible not to be digital. But that's going to make the world we live in and moving forward, the digital market, very confusing, I think. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to have to wait a couple of generations at least, but I do know that like our generation probably, I think our generation, and mind you, Caleb and I are in our early 20s, was like the first to be raised with technology instead of um, having to adopt it later in your adult life, or from the moment you're born, you're raised kind of on technology.
Yeah.
So I think once it hits our generation, or our generation, I think there's still some, like I still prefer to use cash in a lot of instances, um, just so that it's not traceable for what I'm buying. And it's not like I'm buying illegal things, but it's also kind of, that's another con, is that digital currency means that whoever owns or regulates it could also just turn it off, is what I think, or what I feel like, if they really wanted to and if they had the power. And I know there's a lot of like regulation that goes into that, but at the same time, what's to stop the people who own the supply from lobbying who makes the regulation, you know? So that's kind of that's a different.
You're getting on my page too, it looks like already. But
Yeah,
let me wrap up
I
what we
agree.
were saying. Let's just talk pros for right now. And let me just say a couple other benefits I think most people don't catch on this stuff, which would actually help, right? I think a bit like paper money, right? Paper money, everyone was like, oh, I don't know, it could get lost. It's small, it's thin, it could rip on me. But then they're like, I don't have to carry coins around. So every time you move money to a different type of medium of exchange, bonds, right? Bonds is this big document. You have to basically keep it in a security vault in a bank, to keep it safe so you don't spill coffee on all that stuff. Now it's digital, and so that was a big movement too. They're like, oh, what if my computer gets hacked? There's always pros and cons. Um, the other benefits I'll say, because I actually think I am more on the con side for this in some ways, but I like the idea of sending cash to your family overseas with CBDCs, and everyone kind of using the same medium of exchange. You don't have all these like currency conversions all the time with paper money. You don't have middlemen like Coinbase has been skimming 7% off the top. That's billions and billions of dollars saved annually, because when more players are in crypto, that creates a more competitive environment. So it's not going to cost all these fees to trade like we're seeing right now for being early. Or in a disaster, right? If we need humanitarian relief to like a war effort or something like that, aid can drop into that platform's account in seconds. So you could literally in real time be curing problems or hurricane disaster, right? We've seen that in Florida a lot. Like being able to give the Red Cross or XYZ money from the government is instant. And it could even help time inflation by tweaking the system kind of on the fly, right? You could remove or add money on a whim to keep the economy safe. which is another great thing. And I'm going to share, Anthony, you brought up the Coinbase ad. I actually have it pulled up. And guys, listen to this. This is Coinbase's, in terms of just digital currency in general, this is a breakdown of the benefits of why crypto in general is worth paying attention to. And I just think it paints it out in a really unique way. Let me share the audio too. There we go.
Every day, the Fed prints an average of $465 million. That's 26,000 shipping containers a year, created out of thin air. Maybe that's why the dollar loses value over time. But there's one thing they can never print more of: Bitcoin. At the size of a quarter, this is all there will ever be. Shouldn't a store of value hold its value?
That's interesting, right? Just because, I mean, you see this economy where never before seen, right? You don't have the fact where that's kind of like the antithesis to what I was just talking about, because you have a fixed supply. So no matter what, that becomes more the hawkish stance, right? Is Bitcoin. Dovish is like you have a government that can issue CBDCs to control and pull forward and push back the money supply. But on the back end of that too, that means they can issue money like and hyperinflate the economy, which could tank everyone's investments. I would say for business owners, it's actually good to be dovish, right? Because let's say I owned a $50 million skyscraper in New York, right? Then I have $40 million to pay off. The government just issues a ton of money, which means everything goes up in value, right? Because there's more money flowing around. So the price of everything goes up. That skyscraper is now worth $70 million when I paid $50 for it. I just made $20 million by doing nothing but holding an asset. So when you hold assets, it's really great when you can control the market. And usually, right, CBDCs would mean we're pushing money out. We're not necessarily like taking money away more often. Sometimes, right, we could, but more often than not, it's just controlling when we issue it. So it's good if you already hold assets, but most people right now don't hold assets. So the better thing is to look at something right now like Bitcoin, 21 million supplies you saw in the video. And when we print money, Bitcoin's not changing. Their amount isn't changing. So if you hold Bitcoin in those times, that is the property. And that goes up too. And then you make money by buying just any amount of Bitcoin, really. So CBDCs can be issued. Think of CBDCs like money, Anthony, and then think of Bitcoin like gold. I would think of Ethereum too, like oil or commodity, right? That's what controls the crypto market and the flow, right? Because NFTs are backed by it. Web3 platforms are backed in Ethereum a lot of times. It's the most stable one out there. So gold versus oil as commodities and investments, and then CBDCs would be like our digital money. And you kind of use that, right? Because if you have, I just logged into USA today, and that's my banking app, and I have a digital version of money. They didn't like mail me a check or paper money in the mail. I got digital money, which I use to buy things in the real world, and that's the equivalent. A lot of you are already using this. It would just be a crypto and not a dollar sign, but it would be kind of tied to that dollar sign at the end of the day, just like Bitcoin is. Does that make more sense? Is that clear as mud, at least, or?
Yeah, it makes more sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys saw the video too, right? On average, the Fed prints $465 million daily off the presses, which again, you need containers to stack up in the air, like you saw in the video, like kind of like a bad game of Jenga, basically. But yearly, over 26,000. And it's just inflating your savings away. If inflation, guys, and I'm going to tell you this is the honest truth, and I'm not trying to lie to you. I don't think I'm lying here. I've done my research, but a lot of times they'll tell you inflation is between 2 to 3%. It's not. It averages between 7 the last few years to 11%, meaning after 8 years, about half your money is gone, right? And I saw a meme on that too. It's like, I could outperform that by just gambling. I'll lose half my money in like a day.
Yeah.
But,
another interesting statistic on that is that since the Fed's founding, since its instatement in 1913 to, I believe the year was 2020, maybe 2024, I could be wrong. Either way, around there, the dollar's actually lost 97% of its value. So just over 100 years, 97%, almost 100% of its value. So if you need more context to understand what that means that what $3 could have bought you in 1913 now costs $97 for the exact same thing, no matter what it was. So if that gives you any insight, and honestly, a lot of that is probably towards probably in the last like quarter of that century. Most of that inflation comes from.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, and let me play both sides, right? Because I don't want to necessarily take a certain side of it right now. But there were people born after 1913, right, that weren't alive then to have the opportunity to hold on to that money. So you had to print more money as the population grew to give more people the opportunity to achieve wealth. Otherwise, everyone would hold on to their money, right? If there's not new money flowing in, the people that have it aren't going to spend it, and that's going to limit the opportunity for new people to come in and expand the economy. So you need some sort of inflation, but 97% is basically like like losing all the value essentially. So it's a balance, and that's the whole point of the Fed. It's not to say we're not giving money or we're giving all the money. It's to say how much can we give based on the amount we're growing. And think the base way to think of it is look at America, let's say, or the world. The world is worth $100 trillion, let's say, on paper. As the world becomes more efficient, the world doesn't get bigger, right? It doesn't grow in size, but it has more people. And the people can mine more resources. They can work more efficiently over time with technology. The world develops and becomes more efficient, which means the economy of the world is growing, right? Because you can get more value, extract more value from the world than there was before. So at a broad level. So therefore, the amount of money that matches the world's production needs to inflate as well to match that. So that's why there's a healthy amount of inflation. What we're advertised is about 2 to 3% a year. That's about how big the world kind of progresses year by year, especially right now. But when you print 40% of your money supply in the year, that's then saying that we've achieved all this value in the real world, which feels nice in the moment, but the world hasn't actually expanded its economy 40%. So what happens then is after the moment fades and there's all this spending money, people start to realize, hey, we actually have to base this back on real world supplies and value. That's why I always go back to raw materials. Like in a financial shortage, look at building materials, look at construction costs. They go up, right? Because people start to realize there's still the same amount of wood. There's still the same amount of bricks. I can't just get more bricks if there's more money because I can't make more bricks faster. There's only that amount in the world. I can't mine the Amazon rain or extract wood from the Amazon faster than I am. So we are limited by our capacity to develop as humans, right? So when the pace of money outpaces that, then after it feels good in the moment, we have to dial it back and say, we have to kind of wait now for humankind to catch up to that value, which is painful because it means we have to raise interest rates and say, stop borrowing money, aka stop issuing it into the economy until the world actually catches up. But too many of us, right, that hurts too much. The economy is too hard right now. So what we need to do then, it turns into, is we need to print more money on top of that, more money on top of that, because we need to keep patching over our mistake of printing so much to begin with, and it compounds. And that's how nations, empires always fall into the trap of declining after a peak, right? Because they overexpand and then they can't contain that growth. And they have to subsidize that too much.
I don't know. I didn't feel like there was a question there. I don't know what to add to that.
I just wanted to see if that made sense.
Yeah.
The world makes more stuff, therefore more money has to exist to equal the more stuff.
Yeah.
But
I've actually never thought of
when
that.
more money exists and the world didn't make more stuff, like during COVID, more money exists, no more stuff, then the value of the stuff goes down. And the amount of work people are doing for that stuff pays them less money. And so they say, where's our money? We're making the same amount of stuff. And everyone else says, well, there's more money now, so F you. And then they go through hard times. And then you have to print more money on top of that just to make them feel better about themselves. That's what's happening in the US, essentially. And then you keep printing more money because people want more money. They want more money to flow, but they don't want to account for the action of, hey, we printed so much money that it has to be hard times now. We had so good of stimulus checks and all that flowing out during COVID. Now we have to dial it back in so we can actually justify that amount of money in the market. We have to grow our American economy so much to account for that much money now existing that we couldn't before. The nice thing about American dollars that's different from anyone else is the world uses American dollars. It's the like currency of business, right? Everybody uses US dollars. So when America prints money, what's unfair, I think, to the rest of the world, unfortunately, is that when we print money, it's not just us. The American economy doesn't have to grow. The whole world absorbs that because the whole world's value is based on US dollars primarily. So the whole world's value economy is growing faster than just the American economy. So they can absorb that growth a little bit faster, which means we can print more money as our country than everybody else can because we back the world primarily. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what CBDCs are going to do. So we can control in real time the amount of money in the economy. Now we're not going to keep issuing it. Like the Fed's not going to like sit there and constantly issue or remove tokens like that. But there's no more. The benefits at a basic level is cash currency. It's replacing the actual physical money. There's no more trucking around cash like it's the Stone Age. So, I mean, Anthony, you got the builder mindset. So what do you think is a pet peeve in the old money system that we talked about that CBDCs could like zap? Basically, we talked about like the efficiency of using it, but when you go to a store, if you had the equivalent right now, and the easiest way to think of this is when I double tap and I pull up my, got to flex there, my Amex card, and I just Apple Pay it. That's basically CBDCs, but without that, I'm using a card. I'm not using crypto. So when you can use Apple Pay versus carrying around cash, what's the benefit?
Yeah, I mean, the benefit is just I feel like it all just comes down to convenience. And also, I think so many services, like software as a service, doesn't really exist without something similar to CBDC. I can't remember the acronym.
CBDC. Yeah.
CBDC, or cards or anything like that. So Amazon doesn't exist without if cash was the only option. So I mean, at this point, like yours and mine, like day jobs, paycheck doesn't exist either without. I mean, they're not going to give us everybody cash because there's just probably not enough bills out there. So I think it's just not really like the con is just, it's not even in the digital age we live in. It's just not even really feasible to switch back or like be 100% cash because there's so much infrastructure would have to be added or built on top of what's already being built that would essentially cost more money and time than it's worth to just like have the product available when you could just have it available and instantly have people just type in their own information and pay for it that way. So I think
just look at literally like from a basic level, right? Too, I can literally airdrop money to any place in the world or any person in the world, which is good. But then at the same time, I could get hacked into and lose everything. Like, so there's like, there's always going to be a way off with any type. Money, right? Was like, I can't get hacked and lose all my money, but somebody could come rob me in the streets. So like, it's just more of like what trade-off do you think is more realistic to the average person? I think most people right now benefit from being able to double tap their iPhone and pay. But again, right, maybe another side benefit or another side hazard is like you don't see like Dave Ramsey, you don't see the money leaving your wallet, so you don't feel like you're spending as much money when you are. And that can make it easier for people to get into debt. So like there's all these things you guys need to consider. And again, it's nice to be able to just airdrop money, but the dark side of CBDCs and why I wanted to bring this up is honestly a little bit Black Mirror kind of material, and it's already unfolding. As of 2025, when I'm speaking right now, in October, 72 out of the 190 something countries are deep testing this already. So that's over a third. And again, I would say that's almost all the first world countries. They're testing, they're piloting, or they're launching, including 16 of the G20 summit countries, all of them. There are 16 of all of the 20, so 3/4 of the big 20 countries. That's 90% of the world's economy right there. Experimenting with digital cash that tracks everything. What did you eat for dinner, right? Your bank already does this, but now imagine the government agencies that the government allows to issue money, like those main banks and their partners who they sell their data to, also tracking where you went to eat. The people that also own stock in the companies that might own your clinic or your hospital, the companies that own what you see in the grocery store, what ads you see on YouTube, what you see when you're browsing Instagram. They all have that data. They're collecting that. They know what the trends are. And they know who you give your money to, how much money you have in real time, and can essentially charge you. I've even seen Kroger already experimenting with this. But they're talking about live pricing where the store can read your eyes basically and in real time adapt pricing for you based on items that it knows you want to buy and charge you what it knows you can spend for certain things versus charging other people different amounts. So it can literally suck every extra cent out of you. That's the problem, is it knows too much. And although it's efficient, every time we trade efficiency for something, I've said this before, it's always at the expense of privacy and freedom a lot of times. Amazon, right? I went to the airport the other day and it was like, you don't need a wallet. You don't need anything. You walk in, you scan your palm, and then it's saved to your Amazon account, and then it just charges your Amazon account. You just grab whatever you want and you leave. There's no employees, nothing. But they have your palm. Like they have biological data. That's the only thing you have left of yourself, right? If everything's taken from you. And you don't even get that. It's gone in like a cloud of data. And the crazy part is, right, we trust Amazon, but what if it's like some new startup and then they get hacked? Now hackers have your palm scan and your eye scan. All the things you need to verify your identity when you get on the phone with your bank, and they can raid and wipe you out. Aid sent instantly, right? Like I said, but what if both expiration dates or restrictions on where you spend it? It's like maybe they issue another stimulus check like they did for COVID, but they say you can't give it to this business, and this business because they're doing XYZ that makes them a threat or whatever. And it's who decides what places you can and can't spend your money. That's your freedom traditionally in this economy we have now. But that could be something that could be controlled when a credit card company right now sees a transaction and flags your account. I'm just bringing up the situations here. Cybersecurity is nightmares aside, it's power concentrated in a few hands. And we know who those hands are. A lot of us could guess, but risking abuse like never before. So be careful is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's great. There's a lot of benefits. There's a lot of drawbacks, but we don't know enough to feel confident. Like everything else, we need to step carefully. It's an eye opener for a lot of people. Anthony, what do you, the surveillance vibe I think hits different. I mean, it hits me different. So obviously we're both careful with our privacy and stuff. So what do you think is the most what the hell scenario with this that you've pondered, and what do you think is the biggest thing we should look out for with this now that we've covered all the positives?
It just makes me think of my recent experience with an investing app. Is it like bad of me to say the name of the app? I don't really know. I'll leave it out.
It's one of the biggest investment apps that you guys use every day on your phone.
So we'll leave it at that, but I'll make an example in that I recently made a few financial decisions that I, after a bunch of my own research, decided was a thing to do. So I moved a large sum of money, we'll just say, into this app that remains undisclosed, with the intention of moving that onto this right here, actually, this little hard wallet for online cryptocurrency assets.
Now you just told them where you keep your money. That's great.
Yeah, well, come and get it if you want. There's a few barriers to entry to that one, but and you need to find my 12-digit code. But anyways, so I moved the money onto that app with, like I said, with the intention of once it processes, immediately putting it on that. And I didn't even try and take it all out at once. I just tried to make like a third of a deposit of what was in there because I wanted to test it out. It was, this hard wallet was new to me. And like within like 5 minutes of me trying to send it, it like canceled. And I was like, that's kind of weird. Everything checked out. Maybe I just put in the wrong address. I tried again, it cancels. And then I tried again and it canceled. I was kind of just frustrated. And on the third time, they completely locked the app on my phone. I could only access it on the computer. They locked it on my iPad. They locked it on my phone. And they gave me like no reasoning as to why they had locked my account. And so I'm like on there trying to start a ticket, and I realized they also closed my access to opening new tickets. They made me wait like a week for them to open a ticket manually for me. And I say manually, it was still like an AI robot that just said, we flagged your account for it didn't even really give a reason. It kind of just said, we flagged your account. Here's what to expect. And it said, you have to wait for like however long it takes for us to review it. And if you want to appeal it, you can. But once again, appealing it is just talking to an AI robot. It's not talking to a person. So I sent them messages. I mean, I like deep search in the internet to like find to find a representative email, and they like don't have. This is another scary thing, is you can't even talk to a human like at this company. They have no available emails online. Like the only email I had was the support email that it sent to me, and it's like a no reply email. So I was trying to open tickets, trying to message them, and 2 weeks later, so this is now the third week, they said, we've decided to close your account. So this is now 3 weeks where it was a pivotal time in the market, which is why I made the decision I made to move that money, where they just froze my account. They said, you're not allowed to buy, you're not allowed to sell, send, receive, anything. They then liquidated me. So I was bought into assets. They liquidated me at a loss, at like a 3% loss, which I told you was a large sum of money. So that kind of hurt. And not only did they liquidate me, but I still couldn't touch that money. And another week went by, another week went by. I'm messaging them like every other day at least, being like, what's the deal? Just in hopes that if I message enough, maybe a human would respond, but not once did a human respond. It was the AI robot the entire time. And there was nothing I could do. It ended up being 2 months before the company just, like, they resent it back to my bank account, the liquidated loss amount. So I lost the original amount, didn't get the investment opportunity that I wanted, didn't get to touch my own money, because this company that controlled, the third party that controlled where my money was into, decided they didn't want me to move my money. And so I don't really know what they had to gain from that, but that's the what the hell moment that you're asking me about, just barely is. That's the scary thing, is if you are being forced to, because if there's no other way besides CBDC, the acronym, you don't own, I mean, really, we don't own anything anymore, but you don't own that money. Like, that money is being transferred through third parties all the time, and it's just a number on your screen. Like, you can't tangibly grab that. And if the owner, like I said earlier, if the owner of that platform or the people who are in charge of the regulations for that decide that you've spent a little too much, or you are using it too quickly, and we have this already tied up in other investments, because that's how banks work, if you don't know how that works, what's to stop them from just turning it off, like this company literally did to me about a month ago, for the span of 2 months.
Yeah.
And that's not even a what if. That literally happened to me. And I did a ton of research on Reddit, funny enough. And it's happened to a lot of other people, the exact same issue, and nobody has an answer as to why.
Well, what if at some point, guys, the answer becomes, because they know everything about you, because they know what you say online, they know when you post, they know what your last name is, who you're connected to, they track your activity. And at one point, right, the threat of like this cloud thing is, like the cloud, all your data is synced, and so that you can analyze people's activity. You have this digital file on them. I can't even talk about some of the things I know on this podcast here, but maybe like you could someday have like a digital playing card that's like a baseball card, and it has what you like, it has what you buy online, and anybody could get access to that type of file. That's what AI is probably already doing behind the scenes. It probably knows everything about you and just references that in your account. It's structured like this handy tool, right? This AI assistant. In a lot of ways it is, but you don't see what's actually being recorded on you, which could come back to bite you later. And the cost of the one thing that'll set you free in all of this, and the rule of thumb, if you had one rule of thumb ever, would be you're always trading something for efficiency. When you see an ad that's like, that's crazy, I can't believe that exists as an option, you're always trading something for that efficiency. Most of the time, if you don't know what it is, it's going to be privacy or freedom. And and for a country that's so focused on convenience, our freedom's slipping away, and you can feel that every day. But newbies, again, I want to offer you guys something for the amount I'm scaring you, and honestly myself too. That was the whole reason we're here, and why we're doing what we're doing. There's a way to get out of this system of feeling like it's everybody against you, that the world knows you too well, they have you beat at your own game. it's doing what the world is doing to you. It's partnering with people that have access to resources that can help you out, that know how to navigate this stuff. It's a community. More importantly, it's a society. And we've created something that we'd like to share with you called ALTURA Society. That's what's linked in the description here. It's what's in my profile, my bio. It's just ALTURA, ALTURA society.com. A beginner gateway, right, that teaches you and actually gives you, quite literally gives you cryptocurrency as you participate in it. It's a society, a group of people that are here, and our goal is to be worth multiple billions of dollars as we launch an entire ecosystem backing a global market for business and people that actually want to make it out of this system on the good side without being on the side where everything you do is tracked, and maybe where you have some freedom left in your life that seems to be fading more and more. So what we do to control that and what we do to allow people in is sell an NFT, which I know triggers scam thoughts right away, and it did, right? Because that was the market for so long. But our token, which you can look up, it's basically like you pay for a subscription or you pay to get into let's just say a course platform, right? But in this case, ours is way cheaper. And imagine buying a course or buying access to a country club or something like that you could then resell because it doesn't have an expiration date. And if you ever want to leave, well, the money's still most likely there. And as we grow, I could see the value of that growing as well. You get a key that lets you into a space that is private and where you actually get advice that isn't censored, being controlled, and at risk of being leaked in your privacy. Utility packed for anybody that's interested. We have a multi-million-dollar goal of a community fund that will go and actually provide money to start your business. Mentorship, including one-on-one consulting with some of the best experts in all the major fields out there. We're planning on growing a ALTURA Academy with entrepreneurship style courses, maybe e-commerce, maybe stock trading, maybe crypto trading, maybe sales, maybe copywriting, all the services, AI businesses that are going to be popular in the next generation. We have networking events where if you have one of these membership passes, you can use it and again, eventually sell it. But while you're holding on to it, use it to go to online meetups, real world events in the tangible world that seems to be slipping away more and more every day. You can also get subscriptions, just like credit card benefits, where you get access to AI tools, platforms, softwares that you're probably spending your actual bank account money on each month and blowing it away instead of getting discounts because we bundle it for you guys to make it cheaper. And that's the goal with that. And again, I'm kind of estimating $10,000 to $15,000 in value, priced at about $200 to $250 with this round of tokens. So Anthony, can you say anything to just show them that this isn't too good to be true? I mean, I'm trying to find a way to also pair that with like, hey, I just threw $20,000, $30,000 of value at you and we're selling it for $200. But I don't know how to make it seem realistic. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, it's realistic at this point in time just because of the stage that ALTURA currently resides in, I think. So Caleb, he talks about our multi-million-dollar funding pool in terms of goals, because obviously, I mean, to be as transparent, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. We can just solve that problem by being as transparent as possible. If I got to be transparent, do we have the multi-million-dollar goal achieved yet? No, but what is to come? Like I'll just frame it in a sense of like how I've been describing it to people in my circle. He's got it pulled up. I have a few friends that I've reached out to, which I in previous business endeavors in the past wouldn't have done, just because maybe I wasn't confident in what I had to sell, what I was offering. But in the people in my circle, when I ask them to like at least just consider becoming a member, it's never even from the sense of like I'm trying to make a few bucks off of them, because that's like not sales isn't really like the goal of what we're trying to achieve right now. Like that's the part that everybody like gripes at is like the sales, it's an NFT, it costs money, you got to join, whatever. What I always hit on is like right now it probably sounds too good to be true, but that's because we are essentially rewarding those who are willing to have a visionary mindset, entrepreneurs that understand things don't get built. The cliche Rome wasn't built in a day. Something as amazing as what ALTURA Society doesn't get built overnight. Quite frankly, it's actually built largely by the participation of each and every single member. We already have 900 people, almost 1,000 signed up on our website right now. We have in our pre-sale phase like 130, I think 130-ish NFTs minted
129,
right
yeah.
now. So up to that, because I mean, I own multiple myself, so up to that many people actively being holders in our chats and things like that. But every single person that joins has a role to play, has an opportunity to turn it into something where they're taking their ideas, turning them into something that comes to fruition, and then taking that conglomerate of ideas and action backed with action, and using things like our mentorship abilities or mentorship offering and the funding pool to then catapult that into something that like replaces your daily income. But it maybe like all that sounds like, yeah, I've heard this so many times from other gurus online, but we're different because like each of us that joins is helping build it simultaneously. Like the service or software as a service bundle, or like the things that Caleb talks about that you gain access to just by being a member, like Vision AI, or let's say the person who wants to come up with the next AI tool that cuts up long form videos into short form, but it's better than Opus Clip. Let's say they get funded by ALTURA. Everyone in ALTURA society now gets access to what that person just created as a member of ALTURA. And so based on that description, like every time somebody has a success, the whole entire society gets to benefit from that success. They get to reap the benefits of being a member and also developing on themselves and their business every single day. And that does nothing except for benefit everyone involved. And so it's too good to be true, because right now we're in a building stage. Right now, everyone who comes in at that $240 price point that we're set at right now is making a minuscule in comparison, like investment into what is to become, if that makes sense. So if that's at all interesting to you, because I mean, I know that if somebody told me this like 2 or 3 years ago, that I had an opportunity to not only like make potentially like earn from the investment aspect of having the NFT, but also like you get to be a part and like a developmental part at that of this society that's everyone benefits from like the work we all do together. I would have jumped on that immediately. So I think that just has to do with like how I guess maybe you're like, I don't even want to say risk tolerance, but I guess your understanding really of the benefits, because like it kind of is too good to be true, but at the same time, like it's only fair. Like we're not going to go out there and ask some crazy price when like we're in the stage we are right now, but you joining adds value to ALTURA in and of itself. And that's like the structure of how we have it set up, is every single member adds value. And that's what drives the value of the price to a point where one day you're going to see an ALTURA token going for like 1.5 to Ethereum. And that's going to be when you're like, that makes sense for the value they add. I just can't afford that. And so if you want to avoid that feeling, and you're seeing this now, like a $240 price point is never going to be cheaper for something you get to be a part of the development for and benefit simultaneously in parallel with everyone else that's also joining.
Yeah. I showed you there with my screen too. You saw it at some point, but that took me to OpenSea, which is where you resell NFTs, and people are listing theirs between like $3,000 to $4,000 right now, because they believe in the movement, and that's the resale price we're trying to hold. And you buy it for $200 right now. I'm not guaranteeing investment value or anything. This isn't necessarily, I'm treating it as a security, but it's a utility first token. But obviously, supply and demand, right? I mean, the utility, as we add utility, the value of that utility is going to grow our token most likely. But it's utility first. The first thing you get access to is all of these benefits. You get funding for your startups. You get invited to private events that you would never get access to. It's like the American Express card. I have the Platinum card, right? So I get into the lounge, I get event access, I get premier ticket prices, like all this stuff. But in this case, it's not because I just paid a fee and American Express said thank you. It's because I paid for something that actually at the end of all of this, I could resell for potentially greater value. And most of the time people won't, right? And we'll even throw tokens and free value at them just by being a holder. We're actually airdropping, when we launch the ALTURA token, a percentage to you based on how many of the tokens you own. And so obviously you saw the point challenge up there. We're taking 10% of the initial supply when we launch the token, which will be after we sell the final NFT. We'll work on selling the tokens right after. leveraging the same network and community of people that didn't get in on the 8,000 tokens. So maybe we have 250,000 followers and only 8,000 tokens. The people that couldn't afford the tokens at that price, when it's probably about $1,000 a piece, again, why you should buy it for a quarter of that, because we're going to sell it for almost that amount. And being able to buy tokens that you can earn the value of the growth of the community and the utility behind it as the community grows. But again, buy it for the utility. Don't buy it for investment value. Buy it to see what it gets you access to, which will be real world events, discounts on subscriptions, tools that we develop and partner with you guys who have businesses to provide back into our community. So again, if you're a business owner, we could actually invest our money into you just by buying a token, because you get access to Shark Tank, basically. And that's a pretty sweet benefit. There's so many people that have to go through applications and then they're told they're not old enough, they don't have enough experience to get funding for a company, versus us, right? The community votes with the amount of tokens you have on whether or not we want to give you a shot. And if, using the voting panel I showed you, we allocate our votes to you and say that we like you, hey, we'll work out a deal with you, get you money, and we'll deposit it into your account at some point in our own cryptocurrency that grows in value as we grow. Okay? So that's the value. That's the unbreakable key. And the NFT in real time is not centralized. There's not a central bank that's controlling the supply of this. It's fixed, just like Bitcoin, which is why it's going to go up in value as the utility behind it most likely continues to, just supply and demand. And in a CBDC world of watchers, ALTURA's decentralized setup using the blockchain, right, takes that privacy factor and gives it back to you. We empower you to make money, to progress using a token that you can spend in the real world that isn't being tracked, everything you do. We're not using the data, because you guys are the controllers of what's going on inside the community. And you believe in the movement over just mandates. And again, Anthony, as a fellow vet, what do you, in the space of this crypto stuff, how do you think ALTURA's kind of no bullshit approach and privacy first and exclusivity, community focused stuff stack up as like a alternative? And what do you think separates what we're doing from just the standard NFT project of like hype and getting in on it?
Oh, dude. Well, I'll answer the second half because that's like the most obvious for me.
Yeah, just do that part.
It's what separates ALTURA from like the NFT hype community is that ALTURA's main offering is not the NFT. Like if you think that, and we have a lot of people, I said this many times, that are in our Discord that join every single day asking be mods and yeah, it just makes me laugh. But they just treat it like every other NFT project, which just gives me more information because I've never been a part of an NFT project. I wouldn't consider ALTURA an NFT project. ALTURA is, like, as the name implies, ALTURA Society, digital syndicate for entrepreneurs that are like-minded and want to achieve. The NFT is just the ticket to get in, as far as I'm concerned. So that's the main difference. Is you see NFT communities that, or NFT projects, they're built with the sole purpose of like, yo, bro, we can make a ton of money by, making this NFT and just making a really funny picture on it and then post a ton and throw a ton of money on ad spend and get a bunch of people, like celebrities, to endorse it and be like, yo, look how cool this is. And as long as people get hyped up about it, they're like, yo, this could be the next thing. They buy in, and then the founders own 80% of it, sell out, and they made their money. That's it.
Yeah.
That's not ALTURA, man. Like, it never was the purpose. Like, the NFT is just our way of adapting to the digital, like, landscape that we live in today. The NFT is what people use NFTs all the time anyway. Think about your airplane ticket. I think this was like brought up in earlier
Your Starbucks pass, your lounge
your
access, whatever it is. Yeah.
They're all NFTs. It's this thing that you could screenshot if you want. It doesn't really help you to have a screenshot of it though. It's the wallet address.
It's all these cool passes that you use on your Apple Pay every time.
Yeah. But those are unique to you. Only you have access to use those.
I actually have a Panera Bread one. Shout out Panera Bread. That's a cool NFT.
For what we're doing, like, it only makes sense to use an NFT because not only do you get like that, we could just be like every other. So I told you why we're different from NFT projects, but we could have been just like every other course creator as well. Because it's not just that either. This is like, that's why we're cool too, because it's a bridge between many things. But we could have been.
That's why we're cool.
That's why we're
bold assumption.
A society worth joining, considering at least, right? But not right now. Please close the door. Thank you. Wife's coming in here to give me stuff while I'm like in the middle of a chat, but
5 minutes.
threw me off. That's okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Can I alley-oop that?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll finish.
When 72 nations and 16 of the 20 that control 90% of the economy test CBDCs, privacy is going to be the only thing that matters. The people who make money in any realm of endeavor see what's going to happen. They see that we're going to announce a 100% tariff on China, and they buy into the put right before that. We just saw that happen. We see people that didn't see that get burned, and traders took their lives. People ended their careers because you don't see. If you see what's about to happen, you have the cheat code. I just showed you all of the evidence in front of your face. The only concern moving forward that people are going to prioritize is privacy, because it's going to be just swept out from underneath you, and you're not going to realize you lost it. And people are going to scramble to find something that protects that. So when ALTURA allows you to build a business and it doesn't fine you for certain transactions, we don't restrict the use of our currency to do something you want with, to actually build your life back. When we launch our token, when we actually reward you in real world value for putting money back into yourself, because we give you discounts on what would otherwise be expensive subscriptions, when we allow you access to private events that we charge anybody else more money for because you support our ecosystem, you're building a movement. You're buying into a movement. And if you have the ability to see that now, you're going to position yourself for potentially generational wealth. Just like anybody else that was early to anything big. We're basically in the 1998, 1999 stage of the internet, but with crypto right now. And if you're not along for this ride, you're going to miss the next Bitcoin, and that's ALTURA, in my opinion. It's a smart play in times that are getting shakier and shakier, and it's the only light at the end of the tunnel I see. So, Anthony, why should any aspiring entrepreneur check out ALTURA and stay ahead?
Because we offer things that you won't find anywhere else. We own all of our own infrastructure, which was an initial goal that Caleb gave in our vision. Months ago, we were discussing what to do with ALTURA. So it's nice to be decentralized from what otherwise would have costed you either privacy, time, or money. We own all of our own infrastructure, so it's different in that sense. It's also different in that the value you gain from being a member of ALTURA comes first before anything else. Like every dollar made from NFT sales goes immediately first into providing more value, to developing the benefits that we say we're going to bring to you, making the website better, increasing the funding pool for your use as an entrepreneur. You get treated first like the entrepreneur you are and you are aspiring to be. That's not something you find anywhere else, in my opinion, or in the spaces that as far as I understand it. But also that we, like I said earlier, like we are the bridge between the crypto space, between the entrepreneurial hub space, between the content or course content creators, educational benefits, real world networking, like literally everything you could need from any point in the life cycle you are as an entrepreneur is absolutely achievable and currently being offered by ALTURA. That was really our vision as well, that we met in Dallas recently, had a lot of conversations about it, what it looks like for holders moving forward. And that was pretty much it, is that we want one place where you don't have to deal with for lack of a better term, the BS of the corporate world of, crazy interest rates if you want a small business loan, suit and tie conferences in which you are just going to get some massive proportion of your company taken from you from some investment shark, dealing with, and if you're not that far along in your progression, like dealing with, what do I even know? How do I even know what to do at this stage in my development? Like, do I focus on figuring out payment processing? Do I focus on figuring out development of my offer? Like, and
Vision AI already exists to help you guys do that for free. So go literally sign up today and you can get free use of our AI tool.
Yeah, massive plug there for sure. Go check it out. It's free, and it really shouldn't be free. But like I said, we care about your guys' development more than we do the money. So that's why we're different. Any stage in which you lie in your entrepreneurial life cycle, I don't think life cycle is the right word, endeavor, you can find some sort of resource that will help you to grow, help you to network, know people, be in the right space through ALTURA. So that's why you should join.
Nailed it. Listeners, this has been episode 24 of the Ascended Podcast. CBDCs exposed. ALTURA is unlocked here. If you're new to crypto, if you're building your hustle, whatever you guys are doing, or you're experienced, there's no difference. The price tag's still the price tag, and it's going to go up as we build this movement. We're going to manually make it go up. It's going to get more expensive because we're going to be adding value in developing an education platform, a networking hub, tools. We're going to be investing in your companies, and people are going to be racing to get into this. So if you guys are still early, which you are, so we're still in the pre-sale at 200, it's going to move in within a 20 to 30 tokens, or maybe up to even 70 to 80 of them, somewhere in this range, up to the $300 to $400 price range. Look at our website; it'll show you the roadmap of that, depending on when you're watching this. But this is your wake-up call. If you don't take action now, scrolling does nothing. Closing your tab does nothing. If you don't take action and type in alturasociety.com and sign up and actually read what we're doing, it's a hard skill. I know reading is fading away, but if you don't take the time to invest in yourself, how do you expect to make something in this life that seems to just be taking from you? Weigh the digital dazzle of the other NFTs, of the crypto market in general, against the dystopia that's coming, and bet on communities that protect your privacy, like ALTURA, and give you the cheat codes, like Anthony said, and the answers to navigate that. We're already doing that for free with Vision AI, so at least use that. Otherwise, guys, subscribe on Spotify, on YouTube, on Rumble. Please, Rumble's the best because it also protects our privacy. Smash the review. Share this with a newbie, guys. Invite someone in. You actually get points in our free points challenge that pays you money in our tokens. And we'll catch you next time on the Ascended Podcast. Stay ascending, as I say. Stay free. And as I always say, I'm rooting for you. Take care.